thing. All right. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunnabi Hahudve. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunnabi Hahudve. Gopi Nanabalaba Hirivadadade Gopi Nanabalaba Hirivadadade Yasurananjana Braja Janaranjana Yasurananana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Banachare Yamuna Tera Badachare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Behagute Joy Radha Madhava Kunya Behagute Gopi Jana Madhava Ire Badadhagute Gopi Jana Madhava Ire Badadhagute Yasodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachare Yamuna Tera Vanachare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Behagute Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Behagute Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Paravidikacharya also Tada Satashi Shivad, His Divine Grace Abhaya Charanada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Mara Shila Prabhupada Kicha ISKCON Founder Acharya Shila Prabhupada ki jai. Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Namacharya Shidahoridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasiti Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopikapanath Shyama Kunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan ki jai, Vrindavanam ki jai, Mathuram ki jai, Jagadasami ki jai, Yamunamaya ki jai, Shrimati Lasi Devi ki jai, Samveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Gaur Premananda Hari Hari. All glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurmani Pacharni Nivishesha Shunyavadi Pashacha Dejatarni. So reading from the beginning of the 65th chapter of the 10th canto. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. Do you usually read the chapter summary? Okay. Chapter summary. This chapter relates how Lord Balaram went to Gokul, enjoy the company of the coward girls, and drag the Jabuna River. One day, Lord Balaram went to Gokula to see his relatives and friends. When he arrived there, the elder gopis and Lord Krishna's parents, Nanda and Yashoda, who had been in great anxiety for a long time, embraced him and blessed him. Lord Balaram offered appropriate respects and greetings to each of his worshipable elders according to age, friendship, and family relation. After Gokula's residence and Lord Balaram had inquired about each other's welfare, the Lord rested from his journey. In a short while, the young gopis came to see Lord Balaram and questioned him about Krishna's well-being. They asked, does Krishna still remember his parents and friends, and will he be coming to Gokula to visit them? For Krishna's sake, we gave up everything, even our fathers, mothers, and other relatives. But now he has abandoned us. How could we help but put our faith in Krishna's words after seeing his sweetly smiling face and thus being overwhelmed by the urges of Cupid? Still, if Krishna can spend his days in separation from us, why can't we tolerate separation from him? So there is no reason to keep talking about him. In this matter, the gopis remembered. In other words, they couldn't stop talking about Krishna, even though they think, why should we even talk about him? And not talking about him, which is actually more powerful than talking about someone. You know, when you talk about someone, how to give up remembering them or how to give up talking about them, it's actually more intense than talking about them in a positive way. Anyway. In this matter, the gopis remembered Sri Krishna's charming talks, enchanting glances, playful gestures, and loving embraces, and as a result, they began to cry. Lord Balaram consoled them by conveying the attractive messages Krishna had given him for them. Lord Balaram stayed in Gokula for 2 months, sporting with the gopis in the groves of the Yamuna shore. The demigods who witnessed those pastimes played kettle drums in the heavens and showered flower petals, while the celestial sages recited Balaram's glories. One day, Lord Balaram became intoxicated by drinking some Varuni liquor and began to wander about the forest in the company of the gopis. He called out to the Yamuna, "Come near, so I and the gopis can enjoy sporting in your waters." But the Yamuna ignored his command. Lord Balaram then started to pull the Yamuna with the end of his plow, splitting her into hundreds of tributaries. Trembling out of fright, the goddess Yamuna appeared, fell down at Lord Balaram's feet, and prayed for forgiveness. The Lord let her go and then entered her waters with his girlfriends to sport for some time. When they rose from the water, the goddess Kanti presented Lord Balaram with beautiful ornaments, clothing, and garlands. Even today, the Yamuna River flows through the many channels cut by Lord Baladev's plow, the signs of his having subdued her. While Lord Balaram played, his mind became enchanted by the gopis' pastimes. Thus, the many nights he spent in their company seemed to him like a single night. So, text 1. Shri Shikuvacha Balabhadra Kuru Shrestha Bhagavan Ratam Astita Sured Didrikshur Ukanta Praya Nanda Gokulam Shishiguvacha Balabhadra Kuru Shrestha Bhagavan Ratamastita Suridda Drikshur Utkanta Prayaya Nanda Gokulam Shri Shugavacha Balabhadra Kuru Shrestha Bhagavan Ratamastita Surid Drikshur Utkanta Prayaya Nanda Gokulam Shishugavacha Balabhadra Kuru Shrestha Bhagavan Ratamastita Suridrikshur Utkanta Prayaya Nanda Gokulam. Okay. Okay. Shri Shuguru Vacha Shukadeva Goswami said, Balabhadra, Lord Balaram, Kurusheshta, O best of the Kurus, King Parikshit, Bhagavan, the Supreme Lord, Ratam, on his chariot, Ashtata, mounted, Surit, his well-wishing friends, Dudrikshu, wishing to see, Utkanta, eager, Prayayam, traveled, Nanda Gokulam, to the coward village of Nanda Maharaj. Translation, Shukadeva Goswami said, O best of the Kurus, since Lord Balaram, eager to visit his well-wishing friends, mounted his chariot. Once Lord Balaram, eager to visit his well-wishing friends, mounted his chariot and traveled to Nanda Gokula. So you can repeat. Shukadeva Goswami said, O best of the Kurus, once Lord Balaram, eager to visit his well-wishing friends, mounted his chariot and traveled to Nanda Gokula. So purport by the followers of His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. As Srila Jiva Goswami points out, Lord Balaram's journey to Sri Vrindavan is also described in the Huri Vamsa Vishnu Parva 46:10. Kasyachirata Katlasya Smritva Gopeshu Soridam Jagamaiko Brajam Rama Krishnas Jnanu Matestita. Remembering the deep friendship he once enjoyed with the coward folk, Lord Rama went alone to Braj, having taken Lord Krishna's permission. The simple residents of Vrindavana were grieved that Lord Krishna had gone to live elsewhere, so Lord Balaram went there to console them. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur addresses the question of why Lord Krishna, the great ocean of pure love, did not also go to Braj. In explanation, the Acharya provides the following two verses. Preyashi prema vikyata pituravati vatsalau prema vaishyasya krishnas tangs chaktva katam ishyati iti matvaiva yadava pracha nam harer gatav Raja Prema Pravardi Swa Lila Di Natvam Isha. The Yadus thought the Lord's beloved girlfriends are famous for their pure ecstatic love, and his parents are extremely affectionate toward him. Lord Krishna is controlled by pure love, so if he goes to see them, how will he be able to leave them and come back to us? With this in mind, the Yadus prevented Lord Hari from going, knowing that he becomes subservient to the pastimes in which he reciprocates the ever-increasing love of the inhabitants of Braj. Shoo. So again, the verse, and then we'll read some of the commentaries. Hopefully we get through everything I wanted to get through. Sri Shukavacha Balabhadra Kurushreshta Bhagavan Ratamastata Suridrikshur Utkanta Prayayao Nanda Gokulam. So Omagana Timidanda Shah Garanjana Shalakaya Jakshur Unmiritam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. So the commentaries by the acharyas are actually quite important. And then I actually have a portion of the Gopal Champu that deals with this in greater depth that I wanted to get to. So first we're going to read Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. And it's interesting that in the commentary by the devotees, Prabhupada's devotees, they actually quote Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in a way that's not in the commentary that we have here. I don't know if you noticed that. Anyway, I guess there's more of an extensive commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that we're not privy to in our reading. In any case, we'll read the commentary here. So, in the 65th chapter, Balaram goes to Vrindavan and associates with his friends and plays with the gopis. Why did Krishna, the great ocean of prema, not go to Braj? The Yadus thought this is the same that we read before, but it's a little bit differently phrased. The gopis are famous for their outstanding love. His parents have intense love for him, controlled by their love. How will Krishna give them up and return to us? He is dependent upon his pastimes, which increase prema in Braj. Thus, they prevented Krishna from leaving. But Balaram, whose very life was Krishna, could also not give him up and go alone to Braj. This verse therefore mentions that he had such eagerness, utkanta, that his discrimination and sense control disappeared. It's interesting. The Supreme Lord's discrimination and sense control can disappear when he's immersed in prema. Amazing. And Jiva Goswami states, understanding that Parikshit, there's another angle of vision, though blissful because of Krishna's various pastimes, was disturbed on remembering the pain experienced by Gokula's inhabitants, produced by Krishna's sudden departure from Gokula. Shukadev tells a story to console him. So in other words, he's reading, he's speaking about all these previous pastimes, the King Riga pastime, and Parikshit Maharaj is feeling like unhappiness at the same time, hearing these pastimes, because he's actually disturbed that Krishna has left Vrindavan and left the gopis and the other residents of Vrindavan in extreme pain. So he's revealing to us, Jiva Goswami here is revealing to us some of Parikshit Maharaj's inner feelings as he was hearing the previous chapters, which is really interesting. Shukadev tells a story to console him, leaving other stories aside. In other words, he jumps from the stories in Dwarka to the story in Vrindavan. He praises Parikshit, O best of the Kurus. Balaram, the Supreme Lord, desired to see his friends now than others for whom he had pure affection. We actually read this, but in addition, skipping over a little bit of this. Surada means those in whose heart, Rid, there was splendor, Su, because of affection with identification as Krishna's father, mother, etc. Desiring to see them, he went to Gokula. Previously, he longed to see them with feelings of separation for a long time, but now he got permission from Krishna. Harivamsa says, we actually read this before, so I'm going to skip over that. Skip over the rest of Vishwanath Chakravarti. Well, actually, one more statement of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's statements. Balaram quickly entered Braj, ornamented with attractive rustic clothing. That means coward boy clothing, not his sophisticated clothing in Dwarka. So finally, actually, Sanatana Goswami says basically the same thing. Just the final paragraph of Sanatana Goswami's commentary. Later it said that he pacified them with Krishna's messages. That's 10:65:16 in the same chapter, of course. He had strong intelligence, Balabhadra. So Balabhadra can also mean strong intelligence. Interesting. Thus, in addition to great strength. Thus he could pacify the great devotees. O best of the Kurus, Shukadev is joyful because of Balaram's departure for this purpose. In other words, not only is Parikshit Maharaj becoming more joyful when he starts to hear about Balaram and Balaram pacifying the residents of Vrindavan, but Shukadev Goswami, as an eternal resident of Braj, is actually becoming joyful. Let's get back to Braj now. Or like you, Balaram was also the best of the Kurus, being the elder brother of Krishna. He should go to make Krishna's promise of returning come true. So what I wanted to do, that's why I went rather quickly through what we just read, is I wanted to read this story, or this part of the story, from the Gopal Champu. And the Gopal Champu gets into this in greater depth. And that's probably all we'll have time to read. Unfortunately, I won't be able to comment too much other than stopping here and there to comment on what we're reading. So, beginning from this chapter in the Gopal Champu, this is being recited by this particular individual named Snigdha Kanta. So, in the morning discussion, Snigdha Kanta began to think energetically in order to introduce the auspicious topics of Balaram's return to Braj. And then he quotes this verse, Balaram's return to Braj. Shukadeva has described the reason for his coming. Same verse. Balabhadra Kurusheshra Bhagavan Ratamastatas Didrikshu Utkanta Prayo Nanda Gokulam. O best of the Kurus, once Lord Balaram, eager to visit his well-wishing friends, mounted his chariot and traveled to Nanda Gokul. He did everything in Braj and Dwarka according to the advice of Krishna. He did not act independently. So, of course, this is old Jiva Goswami's writing in the Gopal Champu. Vaishampayana says in the Harivamsa, and we actually read this verse, so I'm not going to read it again. Remembering the friendship of the cowards, Balaram went to Braj alone for some time with the permission of Krishna. I will explain this event accordingly. Then, causing excitement in Nanda, Krishna, and the others, he began speaking. So, in other words, Snigdha Kanta is actually reciting this pastime to Krishna, Nanda, and the other residents of Vrindavan. So this is a recitation, which is a little bit different than the recitation that Shukadeva Goswami is doing in explaining things to Parikshit Maharaj. This is Snigdha Kanta, who, and Krishna, Balaram, and the residents of Vrindavan are listening to this whole recitation of this pastime. In other words, they're listening to the Bhagavatam too. Very interesting, in a more elaborate fashion. So Snigdha Kanta began speaking. The great mutual longing of Krishna and the people of Braj that was previously described also applies to Balaram and the residents of Braj. When Balaram revealed his eagerness to go in secret to Braj, Krishna pacified him by saying, today or tomorrow I will send you there. One day, yearning to go there, he informed Krishna privately while weeping with a choked voice, O Krishna, you did not go at once to satisfy Nanda and Yashoda. That has burned their hearts. I do not understand your intentions. It seems you have forgotten all about them. Krishna said, Oh, that love for Braj is always within me. How can I separate it from me? But Nanda also says that it is not proper to go against the wishes of Vasudeva and Devaki. They never want me to go to Braj. In order that I do not act against both of their desires, I cannot go to Braj. Therefore, I suffer. If you can adjust their desires, I will be glad to go immediately to Braj. So Balaram wanted Vasudeva and Devaki to give their consent for him and Krishna to go to Braj. He did not get permission for Krishna to go. In other words, Balaram went to Vasudeva and Devaki and says, Mom and Dad, please give permission for Krishna to go. Thinking a great disaster would result if they allowed him, with some anger, he spoke to them. In other words, this is Balaram speaking to Devaki, Devaki and Vasudeva. Oh, mother and father, what is the difference between Krishna and me? I am also the child of Nanda and Yashoda. He informed his brother, on your request, I've avoided going to Braj for a long time, stopping my feet from moving towards that place. In other words, Balaram also has an intense desire to go to Braj, and he has to keep stopping his feet. It's an interesting expression, isn't it? You know, just like he's so intensely desiring to go to Braj, he has to hold his feet back because they're going to take him automatically to Braj, you know. Shoo. Just like we have an intense desire to eat. So we can't stop our feet. I mean, yesterday I went over to someone's house for prasadam, so I couldn't stop my feet because I know it was a special prasadam, pizza. And I couldn't stop my feet from walking to the house. So we should have this sort of utkonta, you know, this same thing, this intense desire, lolyum, that we can't stop ourselves from chanting Krishna's names. So you see that it's interesting how much love Krishna and his brother have for Vrindavan. Stopping my feet from moving towards the place. Our parents have not given permission for you to go. Therefore, please give permission for me alone to see the people of Braj. Informing Rohini of everything, Krishna then embraced Balaram and lamenting his own bad character. So here's Krishna. It's actually so, that's why I wanted to read it. It's just, it's God's own psychology. So he's lamenting his own bad character. You know, I'm too sinful. I don't have the good enough qualities to go to Braj. This is how we should lament too. That I am not qualified to go to Braj. Spoke with sadness on his face, remembering Nanda and others. First, he spoke about Balaram's hurting pastimes and the service of his many friends using joking words. So in other words, Krishna's remembering his pastimes in Vrindavan. This is, of course, a quote from the Bhagavatam. O greatest of lords, just see how these trees are bowing their heads at your lotus feet, which are worshipable by the immortal demigods. The trees are offering you their fruits and flowers to eradicate the dark ignorance that has caused their birth as trees. But above all, you've embraced the young coward women between your two arms, and a favor hankered after by the goddess of fortune herself. Bhagavatam 10:15-8. Then he spoke of the Hodika pastimes after killing Shankachuda, where shame from the viewpoint of scripture and common custom was overcome. This is described in the Bhagavatam. I'm not going to read the Sanskrit. Once Lord Govinda and Lord Ram, the performers of wonderful feats, were playing in the forest at night with the young girls of Braj. Thus he reminded Balaram of their joyful companionship to extinguish the pain of separation by taking representative, this is wrong English, joyful events involving singing, joking, and seeing, which produced happiness. After that, he expressed what he wanted. The Creator is against me, and thus you go from Dwarka to Braj alone. So imagine this Yogamaya. The Creator, who is the, of course you can talk about Lord Brahma, but he's actually thinking of himself, God is against me. He's God. God is against me, so you should go alone. In other words, I don't have good enough karma. So you should go alone. You, the elder brother, will bring me to Braj. Your going first will bring me there quickly. Though I have consoled the people of Braj through the mouth of Uddhava, you must give sweet instructions to Braj, for you are more attracted to Braja than I am. If you cannot completely satisfy them with your words, then promise them that I will come. If you see that they are still troubled, I will appear there as a spurti by my power. Spurti means you actually see something. Krishna reveals something, or uh, in the anyway, Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks about spurtis in the Jaiva Dharma, where the sannyasi has a spurti of what Mayapur used to be like. Anyway, so if these actions, methods of consolation do not work, do other actions of my request. Except for yourself, those girls who are still quite young. In other words, Krishna here is describing that Balaram's girls who he dances with are different because these are the younger girls who were not old enough to dance when Krishna was around. Does everyone understand that? Except for yourself, those girls who are still quite young. I have eagerly told them to you by name. The gopis on your chest at the Horika festival gave pleasure to your eyes. Filled with fresh prema, they have not had their desires fulfilled, for you were not aware of my heart filled with constant conjugal pastimes in Braja. In other words, when Krishna was doing his constant conjugal pastimes in Braj, then Balaram was kept to the side. He wasn't, just like Prabhupada has told us that when you have Radha and Krishna on the altar, you can't have Krishna and Balaram on the same altar. You can have Krishna on the same altar, but not Krishna and Balaram. Krishna and Balaram, in other words, can't be close to Srimati Radharani. Oh, do not say I cannot do this, since all the people of Braj will see. So, Balaram might be worried. All the people in Braj are going to see I'm dancing with the gopis. They will fulfill your desires. Until you live continually in Braj with me, this is Balaram speaking, establish yourself in this way, and actually Krishna speaking to Balaram, in this way with some of the gopis who are objects of your mercy. But do this secretly to cheat the cruel people. Get on your chariot alone and go quickly so that no one will see. Going there, dress yourself as a coward with forest flowers and leaves. Then all will be accomplished. Saying this, anxious for the time that he also could go, he pleased Balaram by accompanying him for a distance and then, with tears in his eyes, entered his house. Balaram went quickly on his chariot, so fast that travelers could barely see him, and finally reached the houses on the edge of Braj. Secretly, he changed in a coward form suitable to his mood as a coward. So, and then again this quote from the Harivamsa, which we read before. Balaram quickly entered Braj, dressed in attractive clothing, forest clothing, and that's, the Harivamsa. So, not much I could say about this, but it's, very much reminiscent of that pastime in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita told by Sanatana Goswami, how Krishna is always intensely feeling the separation from Braj. And of course, in this particular pastime, we have Krishna lying in bed, not waking up, the residents of Dwarka feeling great anxiety because Krishna's lying in bed, and he's just feeling so much anxiety and distress being separated from the residents of Vrindavan. He just can't get up, and then it's revealed in that particular pastime that Krishna, even normally at night, he's crying out the names of the residents of Vrindavan in separation. So Krishna has his own Vipralamba separation pastimes. So this is how Krishna, in wherever he is, wherever he is, and whatever expansions he manifests, Krishna's always feeling this intense desire to be in Vrindavan. So, we have time for questions. Yes, Mother Urmila.
A pastime that involves Sankachuta, where both Krishna and Balaram are with the gopis. And under Vrindavan Champu also describes a holy festival where both Krishna and Balaram are playing with the gopis. So that seems to be an exception to the general
Yeah, that's an
thing.
exception to the general.
Have you ever read anything from our acharyas about why that's
No, I
different?
haven't read any explanation about that. You know, of course, you have the Shankachuta pastime where Krishna gives that jewel from Shankachuta to Balaram, and then Balaram gives it to Radharani. So you have that interaction between Balaram and Radharani at that particular juncture. But the instructions are that when we worship Radha and Krishna, on the same altar you can have Balaram or Nityananda. You can't have Gauranitai, and you can have Lord Chaitanya. You know, it's interesting, in the Keshavaji temple in Mathura, Prabhupada actually gave a Lord Chaitanya deity, of course without Lord Nityananda, to be with Radha and Krishna on that altar. So it's a mixture of rasas you can't have. We can't have Balaram. And sometimes I've seen devotees do that. They put all sorts of deities on the same altar, but you're not supposed to have it. If you have Gauranitai on the altar, you should not have Radha and Krishna on the same altar. Okay, any other questions? Actually, sorry about all we had time for is read, but it's such a wonderful part of the Gopal Champu, I couldn't resist from reading it. Okay, all glories to His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Enam Kanvandam Aravindadalayataksham Varhavatam Samasitam Buddhasundarangam Kandar Agom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasta Sakale Priya Priti Manti Lasyan Vipan Vikayanti
Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Namagom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Goswami Namate. Saraswati Devi Gaurani Macha Sha Shunyavane Shajagade Sitarane. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Vrinda. Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Vrinda. Ram Ram Hare Jaya. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Golokanana Rana Golokanana Radhe. Jaya Radha Golokanana Rana Golokanana Radhe. Jaya Radha, hey, Radhe, Radhe, Radhe. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paravatikacharya also Teta Sitashi Shimad is divine grace. Shalanam.